Good evening, everyone. Just to let you know, the show is about to start. The show starts in 5 minutes. Again, the show will start in 5 minutes, so please take your seats. Thank you.
Please take your seat. We do need to start at 7:30 because it is being live streamed. So we'll start in 2 minutes. If you could please take your seat. Thanks. Please be seated. We are starting. Shalom. Before we start, a number of announcements. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. We would like to thank all the participants tonight and our committee. They all volunteered their time and talents. We thank Susie Siegel from Nava Catering here at the JCC for once again donating the coffee, tea, and cookies that will be served afterwards. You're welcome to join in the JCC atrium. If you are a bereaved family, Mishpacha Shakula, and you want us to remember your loved one or friend in future ceremonies, please let the Israel desk at Federation know. During the ceremony, if you see someone pulling out a phone and filming, please understand, they're filming so they can share it with their bereaved family in Israel. We are honored to join us tonight Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Hardy, Commanding Officer from the HMCS Discovery from the Canadian Navy. We thank, please, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We thank Israel's Defense Attaché in Canada for coordinating this. The format of our ceremony tonight is based on the format of similar ceremonies in Israel. And for that, we thank Gabi Peled, Zichrono Livracha, who helped establish it here. Final note before we begin, please, no applause during the ceremony. Ein mechiot kapayim. Now, please rise for the Canadian anthem, led by Ethan Doctor.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us commands. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Please be seated. We open tonight's ceremony with the 1948 song, Hareut, meaning the friendship, the brotherhood. It became the iconic song of the 1948 Independence War. In it, poet Chaim Guri wrote, "A brotherhood such as this, our hearts won't allow us to forget." Ellen Silverman will play Sasha Argov's melody, Hareut. This year, we mark 75 years to Israel's War of Independence, also known in Hebrew as Milchemet HaShichrur, the War of Liberation. The war was forced upon Israel when 5 well-armed Arab countries attacked Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and forces from Iraq. Israel's army was made up of one of every Israeli living in Israel at the time. More than 6,000, 1% of the population, were killed. Volunteers arrived from around the globe, including Canada and including Vancouver. If you go into the hallway at the JCC, there's a plaque for the volunteers from Vancouver who fought in 1948. They were known as Machal, Mitnadvei Chutz Laaretz, the volunteers from abroad. Tonight, we remember our fallen. The following members of our community lost immediate family in the War of Independence of 1948. Michael Balshein's father, Avigdor Balshein, with his colleague Max Fagin, went out to service a water pump and were killed. Rachel Chalabe's father, Daniel Chalabe, fell in the battles of the old city of Jerusalem. Max and Jack Fugman lost their brother, Mordechai Aviram Fugman. Member of our community, Dalia Redin, lost her uncle and cousin, Tzion Vishmuel Betzalel, a father and son killed 10 days apart in that war. Nikki Fried lost a family member, Aharon Fried, all Zichronam Livracha. This year, we also mark 50 years for the war, the Yom Kippur War. That war started at 2 p.m. on Yom Kippur 1973. The Egyptian and Syrian armies attacked on the Golan Heights and along the Suez Canal, in which over 2,600 were killed. 9 families in our community lost family members, and many lost friends. I wish to mention 3 members of our community that lost a sibling, a brother, in the Yom Kippur War. Lito Guncher lost his brother, Danny Guncher, who returned from the US to join the fighting in the Sinai, where he was killed. Tikva Housing has a project, a building here in Marpol, named after him. Shimi Cohen lost his brother, Shlomo Cohen, who was killed in the battles near the Suez Canal. And Daniel Granot, younger brother, Meron Granot, a pilot, was killed on the last day of the Yom Kippur War in the Sinai. In memory of Meron Granot, I would like to quote what pilots of that war have said. One said, 14 from my pilot's course were killed. 8 never had children. So 8 times a year, I go to synagogue to say Kaddish for them. Another pilot said, during the war, we would say, you survived the mission, you are healthy, get back in the cockpit. But with time, your defense mechanism crumbles, and you realize what we lost. And you begin to recognize what the poor, broken, bereaved families live with. A third pilot said, I had to bring the worst message to a pilot's family. I remember standing in front of the family's front door. I heard his mother playing the piano, and I knew the minute she opens the door and sees me, her life will never be the same. End of quote. Tonight we gather here in person at the JCC and online with the bereaved families from our community, families that you will see participate in our ceremonies. We gather to give them a community hug in recognition and in sympathy for the pain they live with, for the hole in their lives that can never be filled. We will remember all our fallen in our community during the El Maleh Rachamim later in the program. Avi Mintz was born to a pioneering family in 1952. He was named after his grandfather, who was murdered by the Nazis on the last day of the Second World War. Avi loved working in the fields and in the orchards. When he joined the IDF, he became a tank commander. In August 1973, he completed his army service and in September started studying agriculture, hoping to specialize in growing citrus. A month later, in the Yom Kippur War, in the tank battles near the army post of Hamutal on the Suez Canal, he was killed. He was 21 years old. Rina Weiser is his cousin and will light a candle and read Yizkor in his memory. And in memory of all our fallen, please rise.
יזכור. יזכור עם ישראל את בניו ובנותיו, הנאמנים והאמיצים, חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל, וכל לוחמי המחתרות והחטיבות, הלוחמים במערכות העם, וכל אנשי קהיליית המודיעין והביטחון ואנשי המשטרה אשר חירפו נפשם במלחמה על תקומת ישראל. וכל אלה שנהרגו בארץ ומחוצה לה מפעולות ארגוני הטרור. יזכור עם ישראל ויתברך בזרעו ויאבל על זיו העלומים וחמדת הגבורה וקדושת הרצון ומסירות הנפש אשר נספו במערכה הכבדה. יהיו חללי מערכות ישראל, עטורי הניצחון, חתומים בלב ישראל לדור ודור.
Please be seated. Yaakov Kobi Giron was born in Kfar Saba in 1953. He loved athletics and literature, but was planning to study biology after the army. He joined the IDF Tank Corps and became a tank commander. When the Yom Kippur broke out, he participated in battles destroying many Egyptian tanks while replacing many tanks when his was hit. In the fierce battle known as the Chinese Farm near the Suez Canal, while standing in the turret, he was killed. He was 20 years old. Annie Soronau is his cousin. Annie's son, Shai Kyle, will light a candle and read Yizkor in his memory and in memory of all our fallen. Please rise.
May the nation of Israel remember its sons and daughters, faithful and courageous. The soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, members of the underground, members of the intelligence community, security and policemen who fell in the wars of Israel, and all of whom that were killed within Israel and outside of Israel by terrorists. May the people of Israel keep them in their memory and be blessed with their seed. Mourn the splendor of youth, the altruism of valor, the dedication of will, and the dignity of self-sacrifice, which came to an end in the heavy battles. May our fallen be sealed forever within the hearts of all Israel, in this generation and forevermore.
Please be seated. Tonight, with families in Israel and around the world, We remember the 24,213 that were killed in the establishment and the defense of the State of Israel since 1860, and the 4,255 killed by terrorist attacks, including Mother Lucy D. and her two daughters, Maya, 20 years old, and Rina, 15 years old, Zichronan Livracha, that were killed this year during Passover. Please stand, if you can, for a moment of silence as we remember them all. ונזכור את כולם. Please be seated. Israel's Consul General for Toronto and Western Canada, Idit Shamir, brings a message from Israel to our bereaved families and our community.
Yom Hazikaron is a day of mourning for the parents who said goodbye to children returning to the army, never to see them come home again. For the soldiers who watch a comrade in arms die next to them on the battlefield. For the families of terror victims cut down by the murderous hatred of our enemies. But what makes Yom Hazikaron unique is not that the families of over 24,000 fallen soldiers and nearly 4,500 victims of terror mourn on this day. Because those who lost loved ones remember them all year round. They remember them on special days like their sites and birthdays. They remember them on holidays and celebrations. But they also remember their loved ones on countless other days, when they notice the empty chairs at the dinner table, when the memory of a shared moment is triggered, or when they recall a cherished time long ago. For these families, Yom Hazikaron is not a unique day because they remember. Yom Hazikaron is unique because we remember, because an entire nation remembers. On this day, we remember the pain the bereaved families carry with them every day. Remember that our independence has exacted a heavy price, and we bow our heads in eternal gratitude to those who have paid that price. Jews and non-Jews, Druze, Muslims, and Christians, all who have fallen in protecting the state of Israel. We bow our heads because we know that Israel is here because of them, that we are here because of them. On the eve of our independence, Yom Hazikaron gives us all an opportunity to truly appreciate that independence, to appreciate the great transformation that has occurred in the life of Jewish people with the rebirth of the Jewish state. We see it in our economy and technology, our medicine and science, our arts and culture. We see it in the progress we have made in the alliances we have forged. Planted in its ancient soil, our nation grows taller and stronger, reaching heights no one could have imagined 75 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night we will have a chance to celebrate the privilege of having a Jewish state. But tonight we have the sacred responsibility to give thanks to those who have given us that privilege. We thank the fallen soldiers and daughters who have protected us. We embrace their families and the bereaved families who have sacrificed so much. We promise that their immense sacrifice will never be in vain, and we pledge to do whatever is necessary to ensure that the privilege they have given us
Shmuel Asfari fought in the Yom Kippur War. He wrote the following song, The Winter of 1973. The song is written from the point of view of the children of soldiers who survived the war. In the song, he wrote, "You dreamt of us at dawn as the battles ended. You were tired men that thanked their good fortune. You were young, worried women, and you wanted so much to love. When we were born, the land was wounded and sad. You promised us to turn an enemy into a friend, and you said that promises must be kept." The Meitar choir, led by Shir Barzel, will sing, "We Are the Children of the Winter of 73." Meir Shalev, poet and author, was born in 1948 and passed away this month. Meir lost his cousin, Zorik ben Barak, zichrono levracha, who was killed in the battles of Mount Hermon on the Golan Heights in the Yom Kippur War. Meir Shalev wrote about the lives of the bereaved families. We will read from Meir Shalev's book, Esav, in Hebrew and then in English. Dina Vachtel will light a candle in memory of all our fallen.
מתוך עשיו של מאיר שלו. אתה יודע כמה ימי זיכרון יש למשפחה כזאת בשנה? יום הזיכרון של המדינה, ויום הזיכרון של החטיבה, ויום הזיכרון של היחידה, ושל הפיקוד ושל בית הספר ושל הכפר, שלא נשתעמם אפילו רגע. והימי זיכרון שלי, מה איתם? היום שהוא נולד, והיום שהוא נפל, והיום שראיתי אותו בפעם האחרונה, ומה עם רגע הזיכרון כשאתה עובר על יד עץ שהוא נפל ממנו, כשהיה בן 6? והדקה דומייה, כשאתה רואה ברחוב מישהו שלמד איתו בכיתה 1, ושניית זיכרון בגלל מישהו בלונדיני כמוהו, והמקומות, כמה שזה נדוש וכמה שזה נורא. זה לא רק הקבר, זה גם האנדרטה של הכפר, והאנדרטה של החטיבה, והאנדרטה של הפיקוד, וגלעד פה וגלעד שם, והלוח זיכרון בבית הספר. וחוץ מזה, יש המקום ששם הוא נהרג, שבארץ הזאת זה אף פעם לא רחוק יותר מדי מהבית, והמקום שלו ליד השולחן. וכשעורכים את השולחן, אתה תמיד חושב אם לשים גם את הצלחת שלו? וכששואלים אותך במשרד ממשלתי, כמה ילדים יש לך? מה לענות? 2 או 3?
Mark Elon was born in Cape Town in 1967. He made Aliyah to Israel with his family when he was 11 years old. He joined the IDF Artillery Corps and completed his course with distinction. In 1989, he was sent to the US to help develop an improved mobile cannon. He was killed during military exercises at an American Army base in Arizona. He was 22 years old. He is buried in his moshav, Netiva Asara. Nicole Nozick is his cousin and will light a candle in his memory.
Do you know how many memorial days a family like us has a year? The Day of Remembrance of the state, and the Day of Remembrance of the brigade, and the Day of Remembrance of the unit, and of the command, and of the school, and of the village, and just to make sure we won't even feel bored for 1 minute. And my days of remembrance, what about them? The day he was born, and the day he was killed, and the day I saw him for the very last time. And what about the moment of memory when you pass by a tree that he fell from when he was 6 years old? And the minute of silence when you see someone in the street who studied with him in the same class? And what about the second of remembering because of someone just as blonde as he was? And what about the places? How banal it is and how awful. It's not just the grave. It's also the monument of the village and the monument of the brigade and the monument of the command, and the monument here, and the monument there, and the memorial plaque in the school. And besides all of that, there's the place where he was killed, which in this country is never too far from home. and his place at the table. And every time you set the table, you think about setting his place as well. And in the government office, when they ask how many children you have, what do you answer? 2 or 3?
Kobi Ashbel was born in Tel Aviv and grew up on Moshav Chemed, which in Hebrew is an acronym for Chayalim Meshucharim Datiyim, religious soldiers that were released, completed their army service. He joined the army in 1966 and 6 months later fought in the Six-Day War and then in the War of Attrition that ended in 1970. He went on to study economics and political science at Tel Aviv University. In September 1973, he married Chana. Less than a month later, he joined his army unit fighting in the Sinai. Near the Chinese farm, which was a huge Egyptian ambush, his armored vehicle was hit by a rocket and he was killed. He was 25 years old. Gal Itzik, our Habonim Dror emissary for Camp Miriam, is the daughter of, he was her uncle. Kobi Ashbal was her father's cousin. Gal will light a candle in his memory and read the iconic poem from 1948 by Natan Alterman, The Silver Platter.
מגש הכסף, נתן אלתרמן. והארץ תשקוט, אין שמיים אודמת. תעמעם לאיתה על גבולות השנים. ואומה תעמוד, קרועת לב אך נושמת, לקבל את הנס האחד אין שני. היא לטקס תיכון, היא תקום למול הסהר, ועמדה למולם אותה חג ואימה. אז מנגד יצאו נערה ונער, ואת יצעדו הם אל מול האומה. לובשי חול וחגור וכבדי נעליים. בנתיב יעלו הם הלוך והחרש. לא החליפו בגדם, לא מחו עוד במים. את בעקבות יום הפרח וליל קו האש. עייפים עד בלי קץ, נזירים ממרגוע, ונוטפים תללי נעורים עבריים. דום השניים יגשו ועמדו עד בלי נוע, ואין אות אם חיים הם או אם ירויים. אז תשאל האומה, שטופת דמה וקסם, ואמרה, מי אתם? והשניים שוקטים. יענו לה, אנחנו מגש הכסף, שעליו לך ניתנה מדינת היהודים. כך יאמרו ונפלו לרגלה עוטפי צל, והשאר יסופר בתולדות ישראל.
Chazan Rob Menes, the chaplain at Louis Breyer Home and Hospital, will chant El Malach as we remember the fallen of our family and friends in our community. Please rise.
תחת כנפי השכינה ומעלות קדושים טהורים וגיבורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים לנשמות חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל ולוחמי המחתרות שנפלו במלחמות ישראל וכל הלוחמים במערכות העם שחירפו נפשם למות על קדושת השם ובעזרת אלוהי מערכות ישראל הביאו לתקומת האומה והמדינה ולגאולת הארץ ועיר האלוהים וכל אלה שנרצחו בארץ ומחוצה לה בידי המרצחים מארגוני הטרור. לכן בעל הרחמים יסירם בסדר כנפיו לעולמים ביצרור ביצרור החיים את נשמתם אדוני הוא נחלתם בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם וינוחו בשלום על משכבם ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימין ונאמר אמן.
Today we received additional names of friends who were killed. We remember the friends of the lone soldier then, Alexander Barak. His friends are Anyebu Shababu, killed in 2006, Arbel Reich, who was killed in Gaza 2007, Dror Asulin, killed in Gaza 2008, Dvir Amenaluf, killed in Gaza 2009, Bnaya Sarel, killed in Gaza 2014, and Oded Shemesh, who was killed in Gaza in 2014. Zichronam livracha. Yaakov Kobi Khalifa and his twin brother Shabtai were born on May 29, 1953 in Jerusalem. When they were 1 year old, their father Yosef passed away. The twins were taken care of with the support of the women of Witzo. He spent his high school years with his brother and his older sister Sarah on Kibbutz Beit Alpha. He was hardworking, modest, and was drawn towards families he saw as happy ones. He was close and stayed in touch with his mother, never sharing any of his difficulties. In 1972, he joined the army and served as a tank crew member. On the first day of the Yom Kippur War, near the Suez Canal, his tank was hit. At first, he was declared missing. His mother went from one army office to another, to hospitals throughout Israel, looking for her son. 6 months later, Yaakov Kobi Khalifa was confirmed as fallen. His brother Shabtai fought on the Golan Heights. When he learned that his twin brother was killed, he went into depression. Sorry. And despite the many family efforts and medical support, he never overcame his tragedy and never lived a normal life again. Shabdayan is his cousin and will light a candle in his memory. And for all our fallen, please rise for Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, ועל מה דיברה קירותה, וימליך מלכותה, ויצמח פוקנה, ויקרב משיחה. בחייכון וביום יכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מכל ביחתה, שירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא ברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Please be seated. Member of our community, Nehemiah Kem Cohen, grew up in the city of Tivon, east of Haifa. In 1970, during the War of Attrition, 3 years before the Yom Kippur War, Kem lost his cousin, Shammai Cohen, Zichrono Livracha. Shammai was killed near the Suez Canal. He was 21 years old. When Kem and Leni's son was born, they named him after the fallen cousin, Shammai Cohen. Growing up in Tivon, Kem Cohen's childhood friend was Pinchas Pinky Marnin. They played together, they joined the army together, became tank commanders together, and then officers in the tank corps. As reservists, they were called up during the Yom Kippur War and fought the fierce battles on the Golan Heights, stopping the Syrians from reaching the Galil. Kem was injured in the battles. His childhood friend Pinke was killed not far from him. On the same day, in the battles in the Sinai, Pinke's younger brother, Yair Marnin, was killed too. The Marnin brothers were buried side by side in Tivon. Kem Cohen stayed in touch with the Marnin family, with Lucy, Pinke and Yair's mother, and with Anat Marnin, their younger sister, and with Shachar, Pinke's daughter, who was born after Pinke was killed. The Marnin family sent us the following readings. Kem's son, Shammai Cohen, will light 3 candles in memory of Shammai Cohen, after whom he is named, and for Pinke and Yair Marnin, Zichronam Livracha. Shammai will then read excerpts from the memories of Pinke and Yair's mother, Lucy, who was an English teacher.
Mother Lucy. When the army representative came to tell us the horrible news, trembling, I asked, "Which of the 2?" And they answered, "Both." And then everything went dark. Something in me died forever. My hopes, fears, doubts, desperation, faith, and expectations in that moment all turned to stone. I became a block of stone. As the news about our loss spread, our house became full of people who came from across the country. From all walks of our lives, people we knew and people we didn't. They could not console me. My sisters, my angels, Mila and Nusha, never left. They were hurting, they guarded me, they took care of me. They organized and served the many who came. They did all they could in silence. What could they say? I envied them. I was hard on them. I pushed them away, but they never budged. They stood by me. Yankele, my husband, decided that for the two sons, we sit 14 days of mourning. During Shiva, Pinke's wife Idit gave birth to Shachar. Her name means dawn. She was a ray of light in our dark days. After Shiva, we had to make a decision. Now what? How do we continue? Our first decision was to return to work. David, a dear friend and principal of our school, picked me up that morning. When we arrived at the school, a large crowd had gathered there. The teachers, the students, and their parents stood there silently, tearily, accompanying me with their sympathies as I walked with heavy steps to my classroom. There, even the noisy and mischievous students sat quietly, and with their childhood directness asked me about Pinke and Yair. They wanted to know about the brothers. What did they want to be when they grow up? And so I told them, and I realized that sharing that was like a life-saving drug for me. It gave meaning to everything I do. I spoke about my boys as humans, not as war heroes. How I wanted them to never be forgotten, that we never forget the price we paid, and that their lives should be worthy of the sacrifice we make. I spoke about the price we pay, mothers on both sides who become bereaved like me, sad families, and a yearning to stop the bloodshed. Over time, I realized I must end these meetings with a message of hope to encourage these wonderful children by promising them that they are protected from harm. So I spoke about peace. Pinke left behind a wonderful gift of Shachar. There are no words to express the meaning of that. From Yair, all I have are memories.
Another member of our community who is a friend of the Marnin family is Mira Samet, sadly, due to similar circumstances. Yehuda and Tikva Ben Chorin from Kibbutz Kfar Menachem had 4 children, Amram, Yochanan, Mira, and Baruch. Mira was a teenager, like Anat Marnin, when her 2 older brothers were called up before the 6-day war. On the 6th of June, in the leading jeep into Gaza, Amram Ben Chorin was killed, later awarded a medal for his bravery. He too, like Pinke, was survived by a wife and a child. He had a son. Amram's younger brother Yochanan was killed on the same day, further south in the Sinai, at Katef. The Ben Chorin brothers are buried side by side in the kibbutz Kfar Menachem. After the Yom Kippur War, Mira met Anat Marnin, and they became close friends, the bereaved younger sisters. Mira will light 2 candles in memory of her 2 older brothers, Amram and Yochanan Ben Chorin, and then we'll read Anat Marnin's words on losing her 2 older brothers, Pinke and Yair. Following Mira, we will read Anat Marnin's words in English.
אנחנו 3 ילדים. יש לי 2 אחים גדולים, פינקי, יאיר ואני הקטנה, ענתי. כאן בתמונה פינקי בן 18, יאיר בן 14 ואני בת 11. כעבור 5 שנים, באוקטובר 73, הזמן עצר מלכת, ואני לא ידעתי כמה הייתי מאושרת. אצלנו בבית, במשפחה המפורקת והחסרה שנשארנו, כל אחד מאיתנו הגיב והתנהג אחרת. אמא העסיקה עצמה בעשייה בלתי פוסקת. אבא שתק. ימים ארוכים שתק, ובלילות הארוכים ללא שינה ישב ורשם את דיכאונם של פינקי ויאיר, וכתב אליהם מכתבים ללא כתובת. עד שנגמרו המילים, והלב שלו לא עמד יותר בכאב ונשבר. אבא נפטר 7 שנים אחר כך. ואני חשבתי שאני צריכה להיות חזקה עבורם, אבל בתוכי שרר תוהו ובוהו. כך קרה שכל אחד מאיתנו בכה לבד במסתור.
Anat Marnin, Pinke and Yair's sister. We are 3 children. I have 2 older brothers, Pinke and Yair, and I am young Anati. In this photo, Pinke is 18, Yair is 14, and I am 11. 5 years later, in October 1973, time stopped. I did not know then how happy I was. In our broken and emptied family, each of us dealt with our loss differently. Mother kept herself busy by keeping their memory alive. Father was silent for many days, and during sleepless nights wrote letters to Pinke and Yair, letters with no address. He wrote and wrote until he ran out of words, and his heart could not withstand the pain and broke. He passed away 7 years later. And me, I had to stay strong for them. But inside me, it was chaos. And so it happened. We, each of us, cried alone, in private.
We close our ceremony with Naomi Shemel's song, Lu Yehi, loosely translated, Let It Be. A song that came to symbolize the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago. It became a soft prayer that united all. During the Yom Kippur War, Hannah Senesh's nephew, David Senesh, fought the Egyptian army on the Suez Canal. He was taken prisoner. He was declared missing. For his father, who lost his sister, Hannah Senesh, it was another blow. His family wrote to Naomi Shemer, saying, this song gave them strength during the painful days of uncertainty. 40 days after being captured, David Senesh returned to his family. In this song, Naomi Shemer wrote, it's the end of summer, the end of their journey. Let them return home. That's all we ask. Let it be. Yoav Rokach Pen and the JCC Meitar Choir will close with Naomi Shemer's song, Lu Yehi.
עוד יש מפרש לבן באופק, מול ענן שחור כבד, כל שנבקש לו יהי. ואם בחלונות הערב, אור נרות החג רועד, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. ברכה בפיו, כל שנבקש לו יהי. אם נפשך למות שואלת, מבריחה ומאסיף, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. ואם פתאום מזרח מאופל, על ראשנו אור כוכב, כל שנבקש לו יהי. אז תן שלווה ותן גם כוח לכל אלה שנאהב, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי. לו יהי, לו יהי, יאללה לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי.
Please rise for Hatikva. This brings our ceremony to a close. Tam hatekes. Shalom.